When we first became a step family, just like you, we didn't quite know what we were getting into.
Scarlett and Randall Tandy here from Enjoying Your Blended Family, and we have been a blended family for over 15 years. And not only did we have to figure out how to handle the day-to-day struggles that come with being in a step family, about 7 years in, our biggest fear happened and each of our kids went to go live with their other parent.
We went through seasons of zero connection with each one of our kids, and we had to get really creative on ways to reestablish and reconnect those relationships.
And through prayer and becoming very intentional, God restored our family in true God-like fashion and made it better than we could have ever imagined or hoped for.
So God has called us to help other families do the same thing, to make those connections. So if you're looking for stronger relationships, deeper connections, and more communication, then we believe it truly starts with being intentional and creating these fun opportunities in our family.
Click the link so that you can get quick access to the process that we use to help you find common interests in your family so that you can be more intentional on spending time with your kids, your spouse, and your family as a whole.
We believe you can take the step out of step family and create a blended family that you truly enjoy.
You can find our podcast on Enjoying Your Blended Family on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And while you're sitting there, go ahead and follow us on social media.
So when you have more fun, you'll see less problems. All right, now we are on to part two. Part two.
I knew you were going to do that.
I do it every time. I don't know. That's just me. I always think of, I forget what it was, like Naked Gun or something. Part two. Or yeah, whatever.
Because it was French.
Yeah. Yeah. So funny. I like doing accents. So that's just a fun fact. Here you go. But
as you stick with us, I'm sure you'll find a lot of accents and random singing.
But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. So we are in part two. So you've done part one and you got to explore your interests. What are you interested in? You've got your list written down. They're either on your computer, on your phone, or printed out, and you got your version like I would do. And now you're ready to move on to part two. After you finish part one, now it's time to look for the next week. When can you make part two happen on your calendar, in your busy schedule? When can you pencil in a time that you can date your spouse? So that's what part two is. It is a date with your spouse. This takes about 30 minutes to an hour, kind of depending on you. Kind of depending on the two of you and kind of where you're at and also how many kids you have, because you're going to be talking about your biological kids' interest as well. So you'll be sharing that. If you have one or two kids, it might go really quick. If you have 20 kids, it's going to take some time. Buckle down.
Yeah, but hey, if you got 20 kids, use this time well because you need it.
But this is also a part that you could split up into two parts. So you could do 2 date nights. You could expand this and do one to where you're just talking about your interest and your spouse's interest. And if you do have a lot of kids, then maybe you plan another time to where you come back and you talk about your kids' interest. Yeah. Or if you have enough time allowed, then you're doing it all into this one time frame. So either way, you're dating your spouse, and hey, you can never go wrong when you're dating your spouse.
And hopefully that's something that you already do. It's a habit of y'all's, but if it's not, let this jumpstart this habit of dating your spouse, making it a priority to start spending quality time together.
Now, unfortunately, in marriages, that's one of the first things to go, especially when we have kids and we get busy, is we don't spend that quality time. Yeah. And in a blended family, we have to spend quality time together. We've got to make that a priority, because if not, it really will start dividing us. We'll start seeing each other. We'll start seeing all the negative things about each other. And then we'll start letting little things start nitpicking and getting in between us. But it's crazy. I know God made it this way, but when we spend more time together, all that goes out the window. Kind of this whole concept of what you focus on, that's what you're going to see more of. So if we're focusing on problems, you're going to see more problems. You focus on bad things, you're going to see more bad things. But you flip it. When I focus on good things, I see more good things. So that's what we're doing here, is we're really shifting that focus to where we're working on each other. These are date things that we're getting to hang out, but now we're learning about each other. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you one thing. We did this because this has kind of been our whole process throughout our 15 years being married. And whenever we finally said, okay, what was the thing that we really had the greatest success in? And it was having fun together, creating fun opportunities. We saw the most reward in our family when we did that. But the thing is whenever we put all this process together, we're like, we need it in an easy form, not a 15-year form. Okay.
Yeah.
All the blended families, you as a blended family, you don't want 15 years. You want like the quick, like, give it to me. And so that's where we put it into a 5-part process and really spelled it out and laid it out to where it makes it easy. But what we did was when we went back through this almost 15 years later, we're still learning things about each other. We were filling it out. We were sharing, and it's like, you like doing that? And it's like, yeah, you didn't know that? So that's the cool thing about it. No matter where you're at in your blended family, this meets you. This fits. So it is just amazing of the things you can learn as you're going through.
You may think like, oh no, we've been together long enough. I know everything. Like there are some things that we just put in our mind that we think about our spouse. Like I learned that this guy likes Hallmark movies. I have been watching Hallmark movies alone in my bedroom for 14-ish years. And then come to find out he actually likes them. And I was watching my bedroom because I didn't want him to have to suffer through. And it turns out he likes them.
Now I don't cry. I don't cry in any of them. I have bad allergies and my eyes get watery. So that's the only thing. Just disclaimer on that. But you'll learn so much about each other whenever you do these things. So date nights are so important. You've got to make that a priority. And we also say that that's what you shoot for. You're shooting to date each other one time a week. They don't have to be big dates. They can be little small dates. It could be a 15-minute walk around the block a few times. That's what we do when we talk about life. We talk to each other. We're just doing something outside of the normal. So it can be something small. It can be something bigger. Maybe you go out and get an ice cream, or, maybe you got.
I love that his big is going out and getting ice cream. I'm thinking we can get away.
Or if your budget allows, you're getting away for a week, just the two of you, right? So yeah, it is whatever it is, but just make it a thing that you do. But it's a target that you shoot for. As we shoot for targets, sometimes we miss. Sometimes we shoot around it. Like we might plan on every week, we're going to have a date night. We're putting it on the calendar. And maybe we missed one week. We don't beat ourselves up. We just do a date night the next week. So it's one of those things that is just always on our mind that we do. And whenever we make that what we're shooting for, we date each other a lot more. So there's power whenever you do that. And whenever you're making each other a priority, your kids are benefiting because it keeps you closer together and it helps you to be better parents. It helps you to be better connected. Your kids need you to have a strong marriage. And it's taking that time together which makes a strong marriage.
And let's face it, you're being in a blended family, you've been in a failed marriage before. You know the heartache and the pain that follows that. And that's why we say having that strong marriage and prioritizing this couple time together is so vital and so important. And this part 2, you're going to end with all of these ideas that you can do as a date together. Plus, it is a date within itself.
You get to have fun together. So that's the whole thing. We talk, you got to date yourself or you got to date each other. And it's like, no, it's like you get to date each other. We get to have fun. There was a reason why you two fell in love. There's a reason why you first saw each other and went, hubba, hubba. There's a reason why. there was something that many things that you liked and y'all fell in love. And as we continue, through the years, we start losing some of that. We lose some of those feelings because we let it fade away. But when you date each other, it helps keep them at the front of your mind and it reminds you why you love that person. So it's really, really important. But this is what's so cool about part 2 is you're dating your spouse. So now what you're doing is you're setting apart 30 to 60 minutes. That's about how long it's going to take. So you're planning, you're putting it on your calendar within this week. when can we make this happen? You and your spouse, you're talking about looking at your calendar and like, oh yeah, we could do it on this day. And so you pencil that in, you spit, handshake, and you're good. You're going to do it. You're going to make it happen. Or you could kiss. I mean, whatever. So, but make it happen. Put it on your calendar, set reminders, and you're going to come together, and it's going to be a great thing. So
yeah, and then like create an atmosphere with it. Like decide, okay, this is date night. Let's have fun with this. And I always say this to the ladies as well, because we have in our head what a romantic night looks like, and then we just assume or hope that our husband will step up and do those things. You don't have to wait for him to light some candles. You don't have to wait for him to put on some background music. Like you can do that. So maybe your kids are in bed because you couldn't find a sitter. Your kids are in bed, and you go in the room, you light some candles, you have some nice music playing in the background, get y'all a few snacks to take into the bedroom, and then you sit down and get ready to do this process. It's okay for you to take that initiative too and decide, or maybe y'all want to go out and you're going to a coffee shop or over dessert, something like that. Like you get to decide, what do you want this to look like?
And talk about it. But yeah, it's good to have that open communication, because if you are expecting your spouse, like if it's the husbands that just aren't that romantic, which tends to be the case sometimes, and you're expecting them to cook this big fancy meal, and then whenever it comes time, he comes in with a bowl of ramen noodles. I mean,
that didn't happen in real life one time.
So it's kind of one of those things. Talk about it. What do y'all want to do? Toss out some ideas, but just make it fun. And maybe the fun thing that you're thinking about is that the kids are in bed and you're just sitting on your bed, lights down low, just spending time together. Maybe that's it, right? So it could be anything, whatever you want.
You
mean
that to no candles like. And no music?
Maybe not. It could be nothing. Maybe that's just peace, peace and quiet. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's the candles and the dinner or the snacks or the desserts or whatever.
You're sitting on the back porch. There's so many, just whatever it is y'all love doing together.
Whatever you like doing. So y'all talk about it, plan it, put it on the calendar. And then now, so you've got that done, and now it's time. So
all right, so I want to stop and pause right there, because Randall's fixing to go into describing the resources that go along with what we're going to be sharing all summer, called How to Enjoy Your Blended Family. And as he goes into the details about each one of those things, I want to make sure you know where you can get them. So be sure to check out the show notes or look in the caption if you're watching this on YouTube, and click on those links. I'm going to go ahead and put in the PDFs free for you. This is all part of a course that actually costs like $100, but for this summer, we're giving it to you just so that you have the resource for your family, so that y'all can be at your best this summer. You also have the option to get the ebook / the audio version of the ebook, which is available on Amazon. So if you want the full package with it all laid out there in front of you, go ahead and check that out, so you can just sit there and scroll and read. Or if you're more like me, where you like to listen to the audio, go ahead and purchase that. That's the only thing that costs. But everything else, the things that he talks about, it's gonna all be in the links below that you can click on and download for easy access, so that when you get started over the next few weeks to follow the Enjoy the Journey process, the How to Enjoy Your Blended Family comes with a process built into it called Enjoy the Journey. That is the resources that we're giving you today. Now, before we get back to it, I want to share with you another resource that we found that you're going to want to utilize for your step family this summer. Check it out. All right, summer is right around the corner. And I know for some of y'all that might even be giving you a little bit of anxiety, because it means maybe your stepkids or maybe even your biological kids are going to be home more, or maybe the opposite of that, and they're going to be gone, and you feel like you're going to be missing out on opportunities to spend time together as a family. So I wanted to share with you something that's going to help you be more intentional as a blended family. And I've shared this before, but I just want to reiterate it again. It's something called Get Out Pass. Purchase the Get Out Pass one time for each of your family members, and then for an entire year, you have access to get into all of these different locations. It's different for every city that is partnering with them. You get into that place at least one time for free. You're going to go spend money anyway, so why not save money right now? If they're doing a special discount, if you use the code BFAM.
Before you get started in part 2, you're going to pray together. And if you've never prayed before as a couple, it can be a little intimidating at first. So that's why we do have in the prayer script, we do have here, we've got a prayer in part 2 that you can pray. Now, normally it's one of you is going to lead the prayer and the other's just believing with you, and sometimes you may want to hold hands as you pray and, whatever that looks like for you, but make it comfortable. And even though it may be a little awkward, if you've never done it before, push past that because there's beauty in it. For our blended family, so long we went without praying together. We would pray individually, but without coming together. But something shifted in our family. God really moved mountains whenever we came together and started praying for our marriage, for our kids, and things of that. It does.
Yeah. What I love about the prayer resource guide is that you're going to see that prayer does not have to be complicated. You don't have to use big fancy words. It's just sharing your heart with God. And so the way it's laid out on here is just asking God to guide you through this process, to help you explore these interests and talk about them and find out new things. It's just written in such a simple way that you can see, like, it doesn't have to be complicated.
It doesn't. And that's the cool thing about it. So if you need the guide, it is there for you. Use it. That's what it's there for. If you don't need the guide, read it anyways, and maybe it will inspire some other areas that you can pray for. Yeah. So, it's a great resource that you have. Use it. It's, once we invite God into what we're doing, I'm telling you, he will move mountains in your family and you will start seeing more fun and having less problems. Amen. So it's good stuff. So now you're there. You've got the mood set. You put it on your calendar. It's time. It's go time. Go time.
Mood set makes me do this.
So, okay. All right. Everybody can do the shuffle.
A little shimmy.
So if I look a little more stiff. So whatever your shuffle looks like, do a little shuffle. But now you've come together, you've prayed, and now we're going to dive into the next 3 steps. So there are 3 steps in part 2. So step 4, 5, and 6. So we go to step 4. We're going to go ahead and share screen, because what you're going to do is you're going to bring back those sheets that you did in part 1. The same sheets, you're using those same 2. The one where you explored your interest, you explored your family interest, and then you explored and wrote down your kids' interest. So you're going to bring yours to the table and your spouse is going to bring theirs to the table. Now, if your spouse didn't do part 1, then maybe you're taking a blank sheet and asking your spouse. Maybe they were unavailable to do part 1 with you, but maybe you're taking this sheet and through part 1, you've done yours. And then through the time you're saying, hey, what are some things you like doing that don't cost money, that really bring you joy, right? So you're kind of asking them and getting that information too. So, hopefully both you and your spouse are doing this together. That's the hope. And if not, by part 2, hopefully it's pulling them in. So to where they're seeing the excitement and they're seeing the fun. And it's like, hey, you want to go on a date with me? Let's try this out. So, whatever that looks like for you. But so you're going to take this and part 4 or step 4, what you're doing is you're sharing your interest with your spouse. So this is where you're going to share your interest. You're going to take turns. So maybe you start it and then your spouse does it after. But there's an important part here that I don't want you to miss, because it's so easy to sit here and take it and say, here's my interest here. Read it. And and you can do that.
Very, very weird the way you just did that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's not that bad. But that's the easy way. Just, hey, here it is. Maybe plop it on the table and that's what I like. That's fine, great, easy, but you miss a crucial part. It's something when I share my interest, I'm excited. There's excitement, there's feeling behind it, there's emotion behind it. Mm-hmm. And your spouse gets to receive that, gets to hear that from you. And like when she's sharing with me her things that she likes, I get excited. I'm like, oh man, okay, cool. So you see a new side of your spouse whenever you're sharing these things. So don't miss this part. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull yours out, and y'all can rock, paper, scissors, whoever goes first, it doesn't matter. You choose who goes first, but you pull your sheet out, and we've got it here. And this is what we did in part one. You're like, okay, you're going to start with your small interest and say, well, coffee makes me really happy. I love coffee in the morning. I love the smell. Whenever I wake up, it's just like this thing in my mind, like, oh man, I can't wait to taste that warm cup of coffee. And then, a hammock. I love hammocks. There's just something about being able to get outside with the wind, to be able to swing and to shut my brain off just for a few minutes. There's beauty in that. I love that. And a walk. I love taking a walk. There's just something about getting out in nature that I miss because I'm in the house all the time. And you see how I'm explaining this?
Yeah, it's not just saying coffee, hammock, walk, cozy blanket. Like, it's not just like listing them out, but explaining like what it is, like exactly about that.
Exactly. And the thing is whenever we say it, it's almost, you'll watch yourself. It's almost like a natural tendency to want to explain yourself why you like it. And so that's the cool part about it, is now your spouse is hearing that from you. And so you're going to share your small interest. And then now your spouse is going to share their small interest with you. And they're going to say, you know what? Well, I like an afternoon tea. I like tea time. I love that. It's just so warm, so cozy. But they're going to go, and maybe they're saying, and I love coffee in the morning, and about next thing. And they're sharing and they're explaining what they like doing and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say, in this process, when your spouse is sharing theirs, say you're the person that went first and they're sharing, they may say something and you're like, oh yeah, I like to do that too. So this isn't like written in stone. Like, you can go and add in there, like, oh yeah, I like music, or I like that too, and add it in. And then
it's like, I forgot about that. So, that's totally fine. We found ourselves doing that too. It's like, I forgot all about bowling. Golly, I love bowling. So it's things like that this is not a one and done list. This is a growing list. This is a starting point. So you're starting here, and throughout time, throughout seasons in our lives, we grow, we experience new things. These lists are going to grow. So that's the cool thing, is now you got a foundation, someplace you can start. But now your spouse is sharing their small interest. And I want y'all to take note. Maybe both of you said, hey, I like laying out in a hammock. So what you do is you sit there and you highlight that on both of your lists. If you're doing it on the computer version, you can use the highlighter and just highlight it to a color that stands out from the rest. So you want to make note on both of yours, like, hey, we both like a hammock. Hey, we both like drinking coffee in the morning. Cool. So what you're now noticing is those common interests. The things that you like doing and I like doing, that's a common interest that we like doing that we could do together. And,
and you're both taking notes on your individual paper. So if you're doing yours on your computer, you're highlighting that. Maybe he has the physical copy, your spouse has the physical copy that they're using, and they're just making note on that, because you're going to use this later in one of the other parts.
So you're circling it, you're noticing, that's the whole thing. Notice. Your couple's common interest. That's what you're doing, is noticing. And then you're going to move on to your big interest. Then you're going to swap roles again, and you're going to share your big interest. You're going to be like, I love going shopping. I can spend some money. Let me tell you, I need a new pair of shoes.
I didn't think you'd use that as a sample, because you do not like shopping.
Yeah. Well, I do when I know what I'm going for.
That means you don't like shopping.
Yeah, I'm the true guy. I know what I'm going for. In, out, done. So, and then maybe it's bowling, concerts. You're sitting there and you're like, I love going to concerts. And you're not necessarily highlighting it yet, but it's you're sitting there reading that off to your partner. She's getting ahead of the game.
I was like, you're saying everything.
But you're sharing with them, I love going to concerts. I love watching bands play. It's just something inside of me that I love. You're explaining these big things. And then now your spouse shares theirs. And as they're sharing theirs, you might miss a few things. You're like, oh, I love that too. I'm writing that on my list. And then you're taking note and you're highlighting the common interests that you have together. Because a lot of these, what you're going to be able to do is use these for date nights. later on coming up. You'll know more things that you can do instead of, hey, we just always sit down and watch Netflix together. That's our date. Now you get to add some flavor, some spice, and it's things that y'all like doing. So that's the awesome, cool part about this. So you're going down there, and then the last thing on the list is now you're telling them the things that you like to try. Oh, I would love to go take a samba class. I'd just love to get my dance on and get my groove on. And your partner's like, okay. Or maybe they're like, that would be awesome. I would love to do that too. That would be really cool. And hey, we can maybe take a dancing class, so you're sharing that. You're sharing maybe skydiving. I've always wanted to skydive, and your spouse is like, heck no, ain't doing that one. You soloing on that one. Or maybe you find out later on that one of your kids likes doing that or something. So, but you're sharing your interests, things that you would like doing. Going to Paris, the last thing on the list. So I
added that one in.
So you're sharing that, and then your spouse shares theirs, and you're just noticing those common interests. So that's step 4 in this second part. Step 4 is you're sharing your common interests with each other and just noticing the common things that you have. That's a really fun thing whenever you start sharing and you start noticing. It's really cool. Mm-hmm. So then you move on to step 5, and this goes a little quicker than what we're doing. We're explaining a lot more, but it goes fairly quick. And then step 5 is now you're going to share your family interest. Now you move to the next column, and you start with that, and you say, okay, well, I love it when us as a family, we go to the park together. I just love getting out there, and there's so many things that we can do there, and you're kind of sharing that. And then you just say, and I love game nights. Oh, I can play some board games. I love it when we're just laughing and having fun together doing that. So it's really, you're going down your list, and then your spouse shares with you their list. And then you're taking note of common interest of things that you like doing together as a family, as a whole. So you do the small, and then it's kind of the same repetitive, right? Then you go down to the big, and you share your big interest. And as we said, there may be things that you weren't on your list. As your spouse is sharing with you, you're like, oh, that's right, I forgot. I love that too. So you're writing that on your list too. So you can do that, and that's part of it. So you do the big interest. And then the last thing is you move down to the interested in trying with your family. So that's another fun thing that you're sharing, and you're like, we've never been to Colorado. I've always wanted to go to Colorado. And your spouse is like, you know what? I would love that too. So, you're finding these common.
Then you got your next family vacation.
There you go. Or maybe your kids don't like going to Colorado.
Oh, so don't plan it yet.
And so that becomes a couples date, a couples trip that you get away. So, there you go. So you're learning and you're having fun, but really you're doing this and you're connecting, you're learning more about each other. You're finding things that you really love doing together. We found, that we really enjoy playing tennis together. And that was a thing that we had never talked about before. We just experienced this later in our marriage. And it's like, you know what? All right, well, let's make this a part of our thing. And we went out there and we started playing tennis, and we had a lot of fun doing that. So, you start discovering new things that you can start doing together. So that's the cool part about that. So that's step 5 is share your family interest. So now you've shared your interests with each other back and forth, your big, small, interested. Now you shared your family interest, your big, small, and interested. Now the last step, step 6, this is one, if you have time to do it all in one setting, then you can continue on, or this is a good time to pause and then create another date night to where you talk about this, whatever works good for you. But in part 6, now you're going to the second sheet that you had, exploring your kids' interest. And you're going to have your list of your biological kids, and your spouse is going to have their list of their biological kids. And you're going to take turns. You're going to go kid by kid, and you're going to sit there and share with the bonus parent. You're going to sit there and like, Riley's my biological daughter, right? So you're going to share, and you're going to say, well, Riley, she loves video games. Ever since she was young, we would play this little video game, Mario Kart. And then as she got older, she likes playing this game. And now she just, she's a gamer, and she loves drawing. man, this girl can draw. She just loves doodling and she loves really drawing animals. Animals is her big thing that she just really likes. I see her drawing that all the time. She loves playing soccer. Soccer is like her game. Like she'll get out there and she'll kick the ball all around. She loves playing competitively, but she loves just getting out and just being outside kicking the soccer ball. Now, the cool thing about this is the bonus parent is listening to this and like, I didn't know that about her. Okay. So she likes doing this or that, and then what you're starting to notice is, I like playing soccer too. Soccer was a really fun thing for me. So maybe that's a thing that I could just take that mental note of saying, maybe I can ask her, hey, you want to go play soccer with me? You want to go kick the soccer ball outside? So now we're developing ideas of ways we can create fun opportunities with our bonus kids to where we can have some type of connection with our bonus kid and them with their bonus parent, to where now we're having fun over something that we both enjoy doing. There's power in that. And a lot of times they're more willing to say yes to something they like doing. So that this is a great part. This is a great thing with doing this. So you're going and you're sharing your kids, your however many you have. If you have two, you're starting with one, you're sharing. Then you go with the next one, you're sharing. And the bonus parent is sitting there really taking mental note, maybe jotting some things down. But we're going to take all that later in parts 4 and 5 and really develop some cool plans, some easy plans that now we can get a little more intentional with how we do it. So we're doing that, and then you switch roles. The other parent will sit there and then they'll share their bonus, or they'll share their biological kids' interests, and they kind of go down the list. And as you can see, we've got a lot
I
of.
just did
Devin really loves Loves
So you were talking too fast. I was just like.
So really, that was just typing in gibberish and things like that. She likes puzzles. Devin likes puzzles. So you're sharing all that, and you're just hearing from each other, and you're hearing about the kids' interest. And as we talked before, if you have an hours baby, then you're sharing each other. You're sharing what you think, what they like, and then your spouse is sharing what they know they like, and kind of comparing notes. That way, now you can look at that and you can sit there, and maybe you missed something or you forgot something, or it's like, really, they like doing that? I didn't know that. So there's so many crazy things when you do this that you really start seeing and you start experiencing. So it's very cool. Now that ends step 6, but like we say, with our bonus kids, you cannot force that relationship. Really, you're allowing them to set the temperature. A lot of times we can go into it trying to force them to love us. And when we do that, really, we're pushing them away. Maybe we want them to call us dad or mom, or, we're just demanding. All that's doing is going to drive them away. They're not going to want that relationship the more we're forceful with it. But if we allow them to guide it and we create fun opportunities, the quicker they are for us to grow our relationship. So there are certain things we can do that help really blend that relationship. Any of these relationships take time. That's bottom line. They're going to take time. But as we start being intentional and creating fun opportunities, it helps that time, and it helps that process, and it helps form healthy relationships that we all like and we all come to really enjoy with each other. So always allow your bonus kid to just lead that. And you may come up and say, hey, you want to go kick the soccer ball? And they may be like, nope, I want to do that with you. And it's like, all right, no problem. And we're the mature ones, right? And it's easy to get our feelings hurt. But whenever we can get over that and be like, you know what? It's cool. It's part of the plan. I threw that out there, and I know one day we'll be out there kicking that soccer ball, or maybe next time I'll offer this. And you keep doing that, and you keep showing up and showing them that you love them, that you're always there for them, and that you're trying to just really feed into this relationship over fun things. One day they will say yes. And you'll be like, really? You want to do that? Cool. So, it really is. So,
yeah. And a little example with that, which you don't even know, because, I just be coming up with stuff. But with that, like me and my stepdaughter, we have a great relationship. Like in the past, that would have been really hard and probably impossible. We have a great relationship now, but she just recently came back from visiting her other side of the family, and that always has transition time.
And she's an adult now. She's in her 20s, her early 20s.
She's 23.
And she still struggles with the coming back and forth.
And she lives with us though. And so I've been feeling, the kind of feelings that you have when you feel like you're being ignored or whatever that comes along. I try to give her space, but yet I'm like, it's been almost 2 weeks. Like, so I usually try to give you a couple days, but now I feel like it's been long enough. So I messaged her earlier. I was like, hey, you want to go get frozen yogurt later? And she messaged back, heck yeah. So it's like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's in here. And so we'll go tonight and do that. And it just gives another like positive memory for us to deposit and hopefully get us back on track into what is our new relationship, which is a good and positive relationship.
Yeah. And that's what this is doing. This whole journey, this Enjoy the Journey, is just setting you and your family up for success to where you're able to create these fun opportunities, these fun moments. Because when we do that, we walk away with just great memories. We walk away with great experiences. It helps us bond and blend together. It's so powerful whenever we can do that. A lot of times we focus so much on the problems that we let that suck the joy out of our family. And as we share Proverbs 17:22, that it's a joyful, cheerful heart that brings healing to both body and soul. But the one whose heart is crushed struggles with sickness and depression. So often as blended families, we focus so much on the problems and the negative aspects. That's so easy to do because there's plenty of opportunities, trust us. But whenever we do that, all we do is we see more and more and more of it, and it creates a negative vibe in our home that really starts repelling people. So being able to do this, to go through this, enjoy the journey, you're setting yourself up to where you're creating fun opportunities, a fun house, a fun environment. And that's really the heart of this. And this is something that once you get through all 5 parts, it's a revolving door. It just keeps going over and over and over again. But now you're set with a great plan. You're set with things that you and your family love doing together. So this is part 2, notice. So your couple's common interest. So now you've shared your common interest with each other. You've got to hear each other's heart and hear each other's excitement. Now, and then step 5, you got to share your family's common interest, what you love doing as a family. And you've got to hear from your spouse, and y'all just had some really good time. And then you got to share your biological kids' interest with your spouse, and they got to hear some things that they may be learning and going, oh, I'm taking those mental notes. That's so cool. And then on top of that, you got to hang out with your spouse. You had a date night, and it's something special. It's something memorable whenever you do things like that. So awesome. So whether you had it on the computer, on your phone, or you had a printout version, you have your sheets. You've shared it with your partner. You've noticed some of those interests that you have as a couple. And then you shared some of your kids' interests, and you started noticing, taking mental notes of some of those. So you hold on to those sheets because you're going to need those in part 3. But that wraps up part 2. That's the notice. So you're done. So from now, from this point forward, you're going to look at the next week and you're going to say, okay, when can I plan for part 3? When can I sit there and you're talking with your spouse. When can we put this on our calendar? When can we make it happen? When is our whole family going to be together? And so you're going to put that on your calendar. And then that's where you'll watch part 3, and we'll go in more details and show you what that looks like for your family fun hangout. So listen, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in on this one. Enjoy your date night. Go date each other, learn lots, and love lots. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has been a blessing and encouraged your family journey.
Make sure you stay connected with us and join our weekly Blended Family newsletter. We send an email out every Friday morning full of support and encouragement.
And when you join, we also want to give you a free gift. So go get yours today. The link is in the show notes below.
Have an amazing day. Remember to enjoy the journey with your blended family, and we'll see you on the next episode.